Now, one little thing for the guys, I just want to let you know that in the men's bathroom, we had a little accident, and so there's an out of order sign. Please do not use that item. Also wanted to say, you know, as a group, we're just really getting established and getting started, and we're so thankful for Mike coming here and what he's doing, bringing government, teaching us about government. But we're doing all of this all by faith. You know, we didn't have any registration or anything, so we really would love for everybody to be able to get into this. We did put some offering baskets, buckets, paint buckets actually, that everybody throw, and you know, feel free to give as the Lord leads. We're not going to do anything officially. We may do something tonight, but we also do. The Lord blessed us with a 501c3 that we have access to, and so your giving you can get a tax receipt if you want to do that. The only thing is you're going to have to write checks, or we had a credit card machine and it's not working, so you'd have to go onto our website, and that's on our card, and you could do a donation that way through PayPal. Or if you do want to give cash, we have some envelopes, but if you want a receipt, you'd have to write your information on there legibly, so we can get it in the computer and get you your receipt. But everything will go through our 501c3, which is Voice of Hope Outreach. Either one will work. VOH, Voice of Hope. It's actually something I inherited from my dad. He was a pastor, and when he went on to go to the other side, that got left and got offered to us kids in the family, and nobody wanted it. Me and Patty said, yes, we'll take it. We've kept it going, always wondering, well, what's the Lord going to do with it? Now, here it is. We have it. So you do want to give, you can write a check to Voice of Hope, or we have some envelopes, and we'll get those out to you. So, but anyway, again, we welcome Mike, and thank you for what you've given us. And
okay, well, I want to carry on with bringing an understanding of deep source to deep and what God is doing and where we are prophetically at this time. There's a lot of things happening, just need to sort of get perspective on. So again, God is calling. He's calling to his people. He's calling out with his voice to draw people into something new. The very sound that he's calling is like a frequency, a vibration, a set of notes, symbol. It has sort of color and fragrance about it. And some people connect up with it in different ways. I like to think of it as, for me, how I engaged with it was initially as a set of notes. Every time I worshiped, I kept hearing a set of notes. And it was sort of like, whoa, oh, oh. And I'm not sort of into a sort of musical thing where I can sing. But I kept finding worship, I kept singing this things, and I didn't know what it was. And then as that went on, I found other people in our congregation were sort of also picking up this sound, and they were making a sound, and they was like, this is a frequency that seems to be coming out of heaven, and they were drawing to it, and I was drawing it. And then I found myself in worship drawing this symbol in the air, just sort of like, no, and I'm not really that way inclined, and I can jump up and down a little bit and do some jigging, but this was sort of, you know, slightly different. And I was sort of like, it felt like I was almost conducting something. It was like this sound, it was like, oh. And I was sort of eventually sort of found that these were connected. I don't know if you remember a film called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. But in this film, there was this guy drawn to these notes, and also to this mountain symbol. I think he made it out of mashed potato, And there were people drawn to this picture, and it's like that. God is drawing people. He's drawing people in, and he's wanting people to engage in a whole different dimension, because that symbol is a symbol of infinity, or there's a figure of 8, which is a covenant symbol, and you can walk in covenant and through covenant. And I've now discovered a lot more about it, but then I was sort of looking at, well, what is this? And God is raising up a whole new order of something in his kingdom. You know, it's called the order of Melchizedek. And that old order has ended, because the old fivefold ministry order was never supposed to bring government to the church. It took on a governmental role in ruling, when actually the reality is it was supposed to equip the church, to equip the saints for service, not do it for the saints. And that old order has ended because they didn't do what God called them to do, majority of wise, which is equipping people. See, prophets shouldn't have been going around prophesying everyone and doing prophetic conferences where everyone got their word from God. When how many people have been to a prophetic conference? Few of you. Why did you go? You get a word from God. If they've been teaching you to get a word from God, to hear God for yourself, then they would have been doing what they were called to do. But rather than teaching people, they did it for them and became someone that became dependent on them. And that whole order of ministry created people who started to rule and be on top of the church, and people had to go to them to get to God rather than being led to go to God direct. So apostles, rather than helping people to go to heaven and get their own destiny, just started producing coverings and visions, and you had to come under their covering, otherwise you couldn't get to engage in these things. So that order has ended. You know, God is not in that, and we're going to see some real powerful changes in that whole order as things get shaken up. Now, because God is desiring a government which is foundational, not above. So that whole Moses and Joshua generation, the Moses generation stayed in the wilderness and they died. And they were all dependent on Moses. Moses hit the water, the rock and water came out, Moses went up the mountain to see God, Moses parted the Red Sea. But in the Joshua generation order, Joshua didn't part the Jordan. They just stepped into it with the presence of God in the ark, and the waters parted. Joshua didn't bring down the walls of Jericho. They got a strategy from heaven, and they walked around it, and the walls came down. So it was a totally different dimension between Moses and Joshua, and the Joshua and the Moses generation, and being in the wilderness and building something in the wilderness to cross over. Because God actually never asked them to build anything in the wilderness. They were supposed to live and follow the cloud and the pillar. Now, of course, they could have entered the promised land straight away, but they chose not to, and they died in the wilderness. So many ministries are building mountains in the wilderness and are not prepared to move. Now God is saying to move to cross over. So we're in a really transitional period right now. And there's a lot of stuff flying around the internet, and all this stuff where the old order is being exposed and the new order is being revealed. So Joshua and the Joshua generation were forerunners who were called to mentor the next generation and take them into the land. And Joshua and Caleb were pretty old. You know, they're in their 80s. And the whole generation that went with them as men of war were 20 to 59. Because all those that were 20 and over, other than Joshua and Caleb, died in the wilderness. It's really interesting that actually the age of the audience here is actually younger than normally come to my meetings, which is good to see. Because God wants to raise up a generation who are going to reach their generation and encourage them to come into the things of God. And to encourage them to embrace their inheritance in God. So I believe we're called to be part of that Joshua generation. The only sort of qualification for being part of the Joshua generation is you have to have been through the wilderness. Well, most of us have been through the wilderness. Even young people have been through the wilderness. And we're called to come out of that wilderness and come into the promise. And the Joshua generation is a forerunner generation. Because Joshua and Caleb spied out the land. So God is looking for people who will spy out this land beyond the veil, engage heaven, and then bring a good report. Not a bad one. Because the others brought a bad report. hey, there's giants in the land. We're grasshoppers in their sight and ours. So they didn't recognize their authority and who they were, and therefore they didn't enter. So God is looking for people to enter into heaven, go beyond the veil, experience there what it is to be a son of God, to have an inheritance, and then give a good report that will call people to enter in and embrace their inheritance. So, forerunners, embracing the progressive revelation of God's kingdom. God's kingdom is progressively being revealed. So we can't stay in the old. There's no end to the increase of his government. Everything's expanding. So if we stay where we are, we're going to miss where the cloud and the glory goes. So we're called to leave the old religious institutional ways and embrace new kingdom ways. And that is challenging, because sometimes we've just been ingrained in the old ways. And when we get challenged to new ways, there's a little bit of shaking goes on and some disturbance that goes on, but God is calling us to cross over. So if you're going to cross over, what sort of people do you need to be? Well, the Joshua generation people are a different spirit. They weren't content to be settlers. They had to be pioneers. They needed more. Because their inheritance was going to be the land, not some wilderness. So I've done teaching on Joshua generation's 40 characteristics that I received by revelation and so on fast. And even because I've got time to go into it all day. But essentially, God calls people who are apostolic, who have a vision, to follow it, to go first, to be willing to embrace where no one else has gone. If I was going to think of a science fiction thing, to boldly go where no man has gone before. Right? But we have to be centered in Jesus. We're not chasing experience here. We're looking for a relationship that opens up the experience, because our relationship should be experiential. But we're not chasing experiences, but we're looking for a relationship with a person. We need to be lovers of creation, because God has given us a call to respond to the whole of the created order. So we can't be just interested in our own lives. It's bigger than that. So pioneers, adventurers, servant leaders who are going to serve people, not try and rule over them. Disciplers who are going to pass on what they've received, not hold it to themselves, because knowledge is power, but to freely give what they've freely received. Colossians 3, 1-2 says this: therefore, if you have been raised up with Christ, so is an if. But the implication is you certainly could be raised up with Christ. Keep seeking things above, where Christ is seated at the right hand of God. Set your mind on things above. Now people say, well, you don't want to be so heavenly minded, you're no earthly good. Well, those are people who've never been to heaven. Because when you go to heaven, you're much more earthly good than if you're tethered to this earth. So, you've got to be careful, because I can get way off track. No. So we're not just to think about things on the earth. And most of our time is spent looking at all the problems in the world. When you look above, you see things from a totally different perspective. You see things from God's perspective. And once you start engaging with the four faces of God, you can see the perspective of the lion, the ox, and the eagle, and the man. Completely different revelation. This is the principal key, revelatory principle of what God is doing, to keep focused on above. God is raising up this whole Joshua generation, leaders, mentors, disciples, so that they will be committed to leading people into that dimension. A supernatural lifestyle. And supernatural lifestyle isn't just miracles, signs, and wonders and things. Jesus did those, and we're supposed to do those things. But we're supposed to have a greater dimension of authority than just that. Those were just the works of the kingdom. Jesus said the kingdom was at hand because he was there. And it says he lived in both places at once, heaven and earth. John 3:13. So the kingdom was at hand. So the works of the kingdom were all the things that the rule of God enabled to take place. We see the works and we think that's the kingdom. It's just the works that work from the rule. So we have to learn to rule. So whatever we freely receive, let's be a blessing and release it to draw more and more people into it. So we need to get alongside people. We need to equip people into that lifestyle. You're not going to do it without a relationship. God's calling us to go deeper with Him, to be willing to experience these things, not afraid. Because when they went into the promised land, they'd never been there before. Abraham was called to go and seek a city. This architect and builder would be God, and he'd never been. God always calls us to take a step of faith into something that we've never been. I've just been up in Oregon, and it's like at the end of the Oregon Trail. Those guys didn't have a map. They just went, and they had to wind their way through mountains and valleys and rivers, and then across amazing things. But they were pioneers. They were willing to go first. Why? Because people are coming behind. God is looking for people who are willing to say, okay, I might not know where I'm going, but I'm going to be obedient, I'm going to follow. And I guess you're here because you want to be that sort of people.
Yeah.
So you're going to lead others that will follow, and then you lead them into even more. And then they can lead others into even more. So we have to be willing to understand the truth. All truth is from God. All truth. It may be packaged up in some pretty odd packages. And some of it you need to chew the grapes and spit out the pips. But truth is truth. The problem with most truth is that the church has refused to embrace new truth. So people have looked to other ways of spirituality because we've not given them a grid of reference for the reality of the spiritual realm. Hence people have gone into the New Age and occult things because the church has put that off limits, where it isn't off limits for God. And many quantum physicists have followed Eastern worldviews because the church did not give them a grid of reference. There's a book, a great book I encourage everyone to read it, called Quantum Glory. It's the book I would have loved to have written. It's my first encounters in heaven. God gave me quantum physics lessons. I didn't really like physics, but it seemed really important to him, so I went and found out about it. And many people have truth, but they didn't have a grid, so they went to a different philosophy, and then they've taken on the worldview that God is everything, and there's a cosmic consciousness. The reality is God is a personal God, but He is everything, He is everywhere, and you can engage with Him anywhere, because He's omnipresent. And He's in us, and we're in Him, so we can be omnipresent. So we can be in lots of different places, sometimes same place twice, different places twice. So it's an interesting realm, but there's truth. Don't be afraid of the truth. Don't be afraid that some of what people believe is not right, but some of what they actually believe is right. Embrace the truth, and then reject the stuff which is rubbish, which is usually people's conclusions, because they hear something which is true and then make a decision about what it is in relation to their worldview. So let's reclaim that ground that has been lost. Let's reclaim those quantum physicists back into this realm, so that they engage the true God and not just the impersonal force that they're seeing. We need to be willing to pursue new ways. There are new ways that God is revealing that we can follow, and then pass it on to others. So what is a supernatural lifestyle? Well, it is like being like Jesus, but not the Jesus that we have been taught about, but the real Jesus. John 14:12 is a favorite scripture of mine a few years ago. It says, he who believes in me, the works that I do, he will also do. And greater works. And it says in John also that if all the things Jesus did were put in books, the whole world wouldn't be big enough for the library. So there's an awful lot more than what Jesus just did in the Word of God. And there's an awful lot more He did here that isn't recorded. So even some of the amazing miracles He did, there's more that He did in the realms of heaven. There's more that He does to keep all things together by the word of His power. The vibrating frequency of voice, which is the strings that vibrate in all realms to keep everything going. And it's like we get to access some of that as His children. So there's more for us. Supernatural lifestyle, yes, it is the things that Jesus did, but doing it the way He did it. It's not magic. Some Christians just think, well, it just happens, because they don't understand the principles behind the miracles. When I went into heaven, Jesus kept saying to me, what do you want to know? So I kept asking things that popped into my mind. I think I'd ask Him some really different things now than I do. But first thing I said, well, how did you do that miracle? How did you walk on the water? And it's like, well, he said, it's like this. I could have done it like this, or I could have done it like this, or I could have done it like this, but this is how I did it. I actually control the vibrational frequency of the molecules of the water, and they become solid, and I step on them. How did Jesus pass through people? Because he put his whole molecular structure out of phase into the realm of the spirit and walked right through them. How did he disappear before people's eyes? Because his spirit came around him as his temple, and he went into it, into another realm. Now, we can do that. You know, if you know how to do these things, you can pass through walls. Jesus did. So we need to broaden our perspective of what God would enable us to do as the works of Jesus. So a lot more. How he did it was in perfect, intimate love relationship with his Father. Seeing what his Father was doing, hearing what his Father was saying, and then at work in his Father's will. How did he do that? Because he was connected with the Father and he had access to the realms of heaven. He didn't just guess. He had revelation because he lived in that realm. John 3:13, in the Amplified Version, which expands the meaning, no one has ever gone into heaven but the one who has come from heaven, the Son of Man himself. So he's talking about himself. I've come out of heaven. The Son of Man who dwells his home in heaven. So he's talking to Nicodemus and saying, I've come out of heaven, but I'm still there. So his spirit was living in the realm of heaven while he was on the earth, so heaven was coming through him. That's why he was manifesting the kingdom. So he was seeing what the Father was doing. Jesus said to Peter, Satan's desire to sift you. But I pray that your faith won't fail. How did he see that? Because he was in the courtroom of heaven. The accuser came in to accuse Peter. Because he had access to that realm. So do we. John 5:19, Jesus said he only does what he sees the Father doing. We have to see what the Father's doing. Which is not just having a vision of what he's doing, but to perceive and understand what the Father's doing. So we can do it also every day. So living in heaven and on earth simultaneously, being a home for God and a gateway of heaven on earth. That's God's desire. It's the only legitimate way you can do it. You know, Jesus said that people are trying to get in illegitimately, but you can only come through him as the door. He's the only way to the Father. He's the only legitimate way into the realms of the Spirit, coming through him. Jesus said, I have the door, come in and out and find pasture. Well, where was he saying to come in and out? Heaven. Because he's gone before as a forerunner, according to Hebrews, and opened the veil so we can step in. So God is looking for those who want to discover these things and be on that journey, on this adventure. And it really is an adventure. You know, there are so many things that we never knew. You know, I remember reading a book years ago by Philip Yancey, The Jesus I Never Knew. And this is like the heaven and the spiritual walk I never knew. Because I was just taught that you sort of survived, hopefully. You know, Jesus would come and rescue us one day. No, we're going to fulfill the mandate that he gave to Adam and Eve. We establish the kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. So what are the new things that we're called to embrace? There is a new governmental structure pattern back to heaven. That's why that old order has failed and has been removed, because it's tried to govern in an earthly way, which is above people. That's the earthly way. Look at any structure of any company, and you'll find that there are CEOs and then they're directing their own work. That's the earthly way. It's not the governmental way of heaven. Because God is on the mountain of heaven above everything. But we're supposed to be a reflection of heaven, not a copy of it. So, for both my own life and for the corporate, I need a new way. So my body, soul, and spirit, in wholeness, connected to the realm of heaven, brings the government of heaven. So there's new revelation and understanding about how the kingdom is going to be manifested on the earth. So there are going to be new ways of salvation. Everyone comes through Jesus, but it needs to be experiential. Okay? Not just praying a prayer or putting your hand up in a meeting because the emotions are moving. We need to engage. How did people come and follow Jesus? He said, come and follow me. And they followed him, and they had a personal, intimate relationship because they followed him. We need to introduce people to an experiential encounter with God. Like, come and meet the prodigal. Prodigal's going to come meet the Father. And he's going to put new clothes on you. Close your eyes. Imagine God in front of you. Actually, he's going to come and meet you. Feel his hug. Experience it. Because if people come into the kingdom in experience, they'll carry on with those experiences. If they come in by rational thought, no wonder they're struggling to engage God in reality. So new ways of salvation, new ways of ministry. It has to be experiential. That's why I love like Life Busters and things like that ministry, because it's all about hearing God for yourself. It's not having some great counselor or someone who's got great experience in the ministry. Hear God. You know, many years ago, someone had a ministry called Ask Jesus. Now it got squashed. God revisited that in a ministry called Life Busters. Just ask Jesus what he wants to do. He will tell you, and then he will help you because you're in an intimate relationship with him. You don't have to have someone to do it for you. They just facilitate you hearing God and help you through the process. So there's ministries coming in new ways. New ways of teaching. You know, I really don't want to be sat here like doing this for the next 20 years. It's like I want us to be in a place where we can all come in the presence of God, step in heaven and get revelation. Be set on silence. Yeah, when we come together on Sunday meetings, you know, it's like I do less of this and more of the activations, because you need to have activations to do what you need to do. So we have in our worship, people are standing there or something. They're not really there anymore because they're just gone. And when I say it later on, I asked them where they've been. Well, I was in the spirit and God took me and I went over to Russia and I was ministering to this couple, this baby who was sick, and I lay hands on him. Because there's no limit to where your spirit can go, because you're in Christ and in Christ is everywhere. Yeah. It's like, you know, there's so much more. If we come and engage with God, what are the assignments he's got for us today? Where will he send us? Because in him, we can have limits outside time and space. Because he's not limited by time and space. So there are dimensional things that God is doing. I can go into some of this, but I might get told off. But, you know, also in time. I mean, I've met people and talked to people who, because they step into heaven and they're available and their spirit's available to God, have been taken back in time and God's using in time. Now that sort of starts to twist people's time theology, but in reality, three people stepped into heaven together, and all three of them found themselves back in 17-something, in somewhere in the States, in a place where there was a house. They knocked on the door, they went in, and there was a little baby who was sick, like dying. And their parents had been crying out to God for someone to heal them. And so they were available in heaven. Now, if there's just one person, you might think, well, they might just be making this up. But this is three people in the same encounter, seeing the same thing. So they go in, they pray, lay hands on this child to get him healed. So then they come back, and they're like, whoa. Did you see that? Yeah. Did you see the same thing? Yeah. Ooh, okay, this is weird. So they ask me, people ask me all these questions, and I'm like, oh, that's pretty good, that's interesting. You know, what's the answer to that? So I draw it out of heaven and said, actually, what you've done, you made yourself available to God now, because they said, did we change time? I said, no, you're always used in time. Because if you're now, and God takes you back into then, he'd always use you, because it's just now for you. It was then for them. Yeah. Because you're available. He can take you in time and space and use you in any place. And I've got several other testaments of where this has taken place, because people are available. I make myself available every night before I go to sleep. Because I want rest, but I want my spirit to be at my spirit. I can't sleep. Yeah, my spirit is eternal. It's got eternal life. Doesn't need sleep. Sometimes my body does. It certainly did last night. I've been going for like 50 sessions, and last night at the end of the day, we probably had 8 hours of questions and talking. So it was like, okay, but I had a really good sleep. But I send my spirit into heaven, say, God, I'm available. And sometimes I remember, sometimes I don't. But people say to me, I was in heaven the other day and I saw you doing this. So, oh, that's really interesting. What was I doing? You know, because I don't know. Because I'm here doing this now. My spirit's in heaven. I have no idea what my spirit's doing unless I tune into it to get a flow. Now, usually it's on the throne, engaging heaven, so heaven can come here. So there are new ways that God wants us, and they're all experiential. They cannot be theoretical. You know, there's new ways of prayer. You know, we don't just come here and, oh God, he needs help. We go there, to the throne of grace, or we go to the court and we get an authorization and we say, and he says, no, God is a little bit fed up with us asking him to do stuff that he's already authorized us to do. You know, we are authorized to do many things that we're crying out and asking God to do. Now, he's very, very gracious and loving and merciful, and so he treats us where we are, and when we haven't got revelation, he'll do a lot of things for us, which we do for our children. But when our children get to such an age, we expect them to look after their own bedrooms. Maybe. Or to look after their own lives. You know, and God expects us to come into maturity so we can do these things. So we need to learn that we can go there and we can actually direct and decree rather than asking God to do it, because he's given us authority. There are whole new ways of interceding. So many people got into intercession, and when the revelation of principalities and powers and things over the air is written, they all started tackling them, trying to tackle them, and they all got smashed up and pressed, because you can't deal with anything that you're under. You have to be above. Jesus said he's put the enemy under our feet, not over our head. So we need to learn to go there and minister down through, and then we have the heavenly host who are available to go and deal with that atmosphere. I don't need to go into the atmosphere, that's their job. You know, I'm not going to do that. They do it. I just need to assign them. They're waiting for assignments. So when we assign them, they go and clear things. So we need to see that intercession is not something you do this side of the veil. And it's dangerous to try and tackle things this side of the veil if you're not equipped to deal with it. Now, I think Robert Henderson, who does teaching on the court system in heaven, told a story where two ladies in their 20s sought to tackle the principality or the ruling power over New York. You don't tackle that stuff. Within a year, both of them died from the same cancer, because they had come under something that they were not authorized to do. You know, when you go above, you can get a mandate from God to deal with things. Don't do anything that you're not mandated to do. God will authorize you to deal with the things that you're called to deal with within your sphere of government, because you have a sphere. 7 of them that are all part of who you are, that you're called to administer. And yes, you can be given greater spheres because there's an expansion of God's kingdom, so our lives become greater influencers. But don't do it this side. Go there and do it that side. So there are so many more ways of administrating the kingdom than we know. And you find out when you go into heaven, God gives you authorization and mandates to do it. There's new ways that we can partner with the angelic realm. They are ministering spirits. You know, I'll do a whole session on that. It's so important to realize that they can do so much for us where we can't do it for ourselves, because they're supposed to do it for us. There are new ways to that being mature. Moses did the miracles. He parted the Red Sea. They just had everything given to them because they were children. When Joshua came in, people did the miracles, and then they began to embrace the land. And they began to occupy it and dispossess the enemy. Jesus did that with his disciples. He showed them what to do, then he sent them out to do it. And it says he rejoiced when they came back with their stories. And literally the word rejoice means to twirl in the air. He was so excited that people were getting it fast, because would have been given to Israel, but they didn't embrace it. Rather than being the light to the world that they were supposed to be, they insulated it. Put laws around it, put traditions around the laws, and put even more traditions around those laws that no one would go in. And that's why he accused the Pharisees that he was so hard against them, because they were stopping people engaging what people could have always done. So Jesus now gave disciples who multiplied the food. The disciples. So Jesus encouraged them and enabled them to do things in that way. It wasn't all Jesus doing it. And I think that's a great example to see. Jesus sent them out and he gave them all authority, and he told them that the enemy would have no power over them. So there are new ways that we're going to be called to be salt and light. Very practical, because I'm not just talking about being in the heavens and doing nothing on the earth. You know, we have a day center that feeds 100 people every day. You know, we have housing, we have a rehabilitation center. You know, we have a therapeutic community that helps people become free. We have houses that help them move on. We have job creation schemes to help them get into employment. All this is a practical outworking of our blueprint, our vision. You all have one that's related to you. But we need to make sure that the kingdom changes the earth and doesn't just do heavenly things without no outworking. Jesus did change things when he came. So we need to be agents of change. We need to be writing history, creating history, calling history into being, aligned with God's purposes in the past, that they will be brought into the future so that things will change. So are we being influenced or are we going to be influencers? Completely depends on where you're sitting. If you're under something, you're going to be influenced by it. If you're over something, you can influence it. So we need to bring transformation in our communities, but we need to do it by engaging heaven first. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. So we need to find the as it is and we need to do it. So comparing the old and the new, prayer from earth, asking God's help from heaven is an old way. God hears us from a distance. And he does hear us and he's so gracious. But Isaiah 61:4:1, oh that you would rend the heavens and come down. People are still praying that prayer. They're still crying out, God, will you come? Will you come? Will you come? Well, he has come, and he's gone back, and he's rent the heavens, and we can go. So we don't need to say come. If we rend the heavens, heaven and earth will overlap. So he's gone back, and he's opened that way for us. Revelation 4:1. The door is standing open in heaven. Old way of doing it is accessing the holy place was only given to special people, called priests, mediators. Now we set up our systems of church to reflect an old covenant system. Constantine did a really good job of messing things up. In many ways, one of the ways he did is when he saw his vision supposedly in the sky, he had a whole load of old priestly functions in the Roman God system who were out of the job. So he just turned them into pastors, for want of a better word. And we had separation between clergy and laity, and we had then, therefore, separating everything and setting up a system of government which was old covenant. We don't need any priests. This side of the veil, we have Jesus, the high priest, on the other side for us, according to the order of Melchizedek, and then we become a royal priesthood on the other side of the veil. Not this one. So anyone who calls themselves a priest on this side of the veil is somewhat deceived, unfortunately. So access is open to all of us. The old way was seeking God's help. Now he enables you to do that. We can go meeting face to face. Hebrews 4:14. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus, the Son of God, let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, because he's already gone and opened up the way. So the old ways were really about the wilderness, expecting God to do everything in heaven. But now we are partners with him, given responsibility as co-heirs in doing those things as lords and kings and sons. And there's a whole process of maturity that we need to come into. Your kingdom come, your will be done. As it is in heaven. I don't know how I never saw this, but I did see this for 20, 30 years. It's like every time I saw that, every time we prayed this prayer, it's like we were thinking, well, God's going to do it. When God was saying, no, you can come and do it. You can come to your throne. You can administer the kingdom. So in the old ways, it's really we were like children. And where parents do a lot for their children, but it comes a time that we take responsibility as adults. And we need to grow up now. The church needs to be in a place of maturity, so we can answer creation and grow and bring change. Because God is going to start withdrawing his support for the old systems. It's like he's not going to keep on doing what he's doing right now. He's going to move. The glory is going to depart. There's going to be a lot of Ichabods coming. The glory is departed. Because God is not going to carry on in that old system. He's not going to carry on recognizing an old system, which is an old covenant, and we're in a new one. Because in Hebrews it says the old covenant is obsolete. So we need to embrace a new way, because those old ways are going to stop being effective. So if people keep on doing it, you're going to find they're going to be harder and harder and harder. because God's anointing isn't going to be in it. So let's grow up. Let's become mature. Let's start coming. Because if he's going to withdraw support and we're not in new things, then we're going to be struggling in our lives. He wants to manifest mature sons on the earth. So we can all fulfill our destiny. Because our destiny is entwined with the destiny of creation. So we cannot bring creation back into order unless we bring our lives back into order and we embrace who we are, sons of God. So why can't I keep the old ways? Some people have asked. Well, you can. You just die in the wilderness. 2.5 tribes did. They crossed over, they saw the promised land, they even helped. But they withdrew and settled on the other side. And there's no record of that. You know, we can all desire that simplicity of childhood and no responsibility. Oh, isn't it great just to lay around on the beach every day? Well, it's okay for a couple of days. You get bored. It's like, I want to do stuff. Now, God has called us to take responsibility. You know, we can't keep drinking milk. We need solid food. And Hebrews 5:14 says, solid food comes to those who are mature, who have trained their senses to discern. We need to train our senses to discern so we can engage in the realms of the Spirit. Now, there is coming, this is what God said to me one day, there is coming another sound of a mighty rushing wind that will be a sound that's on a higher frequency. This sound will be like when I hovered over and vibrated over the matter and space and caused cohesion to take place. This sound will be a vibrating and a frequency that will shake the very particles of your being. Ooh, just release that sound. You will be shaken from the central core of your physical and spiritual structure, and you will be transformed by this new and infinitely more powerful Pentecost. The sound of a mighty rushing wind is coming. And it's being released, and some people are starting to get caught up into that wind and that sound. It's taken them straight up into the realms of heaven. So we can release that sound. There will be a new order being established. And these are things God just said to me. Restored to my original specification. Living beings containing the very essence of who I am will take a transformational order. There's quite a lot of transformation that needs taking place. So if we surrender, it speeds up the process no end. Creation itself will be shaken violently as I come closer and the spiritual and the natural orders once again overlap. I'm releasing this sound, the sound frequency that is calling people deep to deep, as many are being drawn into positions, being made ready for the great vibrational wind that's coming. God is positioning people, He's moving people around, He's drawing people to come to that sound. For the new order to be established, the old order must fall away and gone. Those who cling to the old order will die along with them, just like Moses did in his disobedient, faithful generation died in the wilderness. So I don't want to be part of a disobedient, faithless generation. You? So let's embrace the new. Cross over into the fullness of our inheritance. God speaks to me sometimes like this when I talk to him. He says, son. You know, I know whenever he says son, it's like, listen up. I'm giving this warning again because there are many who are not heeding my word. God has been drawing people for the last 40 years, calling and calling and calling with ever increasing intimacy, moves of the Spirit. You know, you had moves of the Spirit in the Pentecostal move with Rodney Howard-Browne, in the charismatic move in Toronto. You had Pensacola and Brownsville revival. You had Todd Bentley and all that stuff. You know, the wind and the fire and the wine of the Spirit poured out, all calling people into intimacy. Come back to me. And some people have, but some people have just ignored the word and they're just not heard. You know, God is calling them. I'm releasing the harbingers, not quite sure what they are, but I've got a hint. And I will remove the stumbling blocks and the obstacles. He will remove things from us that are obstacles for us to engage in our sanctity, or he will remove us if we're stumbling blocks and obstacles. So let's not be stumbling blocks. Lawlessness will be removed from my kingdom. There is no room for discord. Discord is not something God likes. He likes harmony. You must prepare and be ready as the sound of the mighty rushing wind that will shake the created order will destroy as well as transform. The frequency of the created order itself will be changed by the power of my voice. Use this warning to shake people out of their complacency and call for a heavenly and earthly alignment. That's what I'm doing all the time. in heaven, calling for heaven and earth to be aligned, calling people to come, be drawn to the sound of his voice, to come to him in intimacy. Son, release the sound of heaven, blow the trumpet, herald the new season, sound the alarm, muster the troops, let the sound reverberate and resonate and draw people. Son, let the lion release his roar, let the eagle soar, let the ox snort, and let the man cry out. God's government is wanting to be established. Son, hear my heart and focus on the main thing. It's time to end the old fruit, and that season of old things is ended, both good and bad, good old things and bad old things. I'm going to shake the tree violently to remove you into a new season, where a new book will be opened and new chapters and new pages will be revealed and initiated. Hey, do we not want that? Do you want a new chapter in your life? A new season? Go into new things? Blueprints must be clearly established as the foundations and maps to direct you in the seasons ahead. This is why God's releasing scrolls and blueprints out of heaven, to show us what to build. You know, Abraham was looking for a city whose architect and builder was God. And he's looking for cities and cities of refuge who are going to have blueprints that are going to be an architect and builder as God. But we need to take those blueprints and we need to establish those blueprints and see those blueprints on earth as they are in heaven. That's why God is raising up ecclesia, coming out of the ashes of church. I don't like using the word church, it's a dirty word in most people's vocabulary because of all the experiences they've had with it. Negative ones mostly. Now, I love church. You know, I've always been part of church. I know that the manifold wisdom of God will be made known through the church, just not the institution and the religious institution, but people gathered together around a blueprint, which is what an ecclesia really is. Because church is an Anglo-Saxon word that does not actually mean what ecclesia means. So we need to gather around blueprints to establish a cities of refuge and come out of those old orders. Proclaim and herald a new day, a new season, new depths, new heights, new doors, new chapters will be opened and become accessible. This was about a year or so ago. You have a year of preparation before the release of the hunter and gathering angels will be fully authorized. Make everything ready, be expectant as we are trembling. They're shaking. Come in. You know, judgment is coming to the household of God, but not as people think. Because God is not punishing anybody. But he is making some verdicts and decisions and judgments to say, this is not me anymore. This is, leave all that and get over the line and cross over the river and come in through the bay. Because everything of the new is going to be heavenly and overlapping heaven and earth. Teach my people to sit at my feet and draw near to me, and I will reveal their destinies in intimate relationship. I love intimacy. You know, I love the government. I love intimacy because intimacy releases government. I'm calling, help people to hear the sound and become part of my great harmonious sound, a heavenly spiritual united resonance that will answer the growing creation. There's a sound when we come together in unity that answers creation's growth. So God is calling us to resonate and come together with that sound. So he's calling people to come together that will begin to do that. Teach people to clear the busy sounds of their cluttered lives to be able to hear the pure sound that I'm releasing into the atmosphere. Sometimes we're just so busy and caught up with our lives to hear and listen to what God is doing. It's time to look into a new realm. Now set the priorities, seek first the kingdom. Because if you seek first the kingdom, he promises to do everything else. We're caught up in doing everything else. No wonder there was an injunction in Matthew 6, 24 to 33. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Well, why can we stop worrying? Because we seek first the kingdom and trust him to do all the things that we're worrying about. We're only worrying because we've got to figure it out and do it ourselves. But if we're trusting God, he will do it. Joshua 3:5. Joshua said to the people, consecrate yourselves, for tomorrow the Lord will do wonders among you. Consecration is a setting apart, leaving the old, coming into the new, and being ready for what God wants. And in Joshua 24:14, Joshua said this, choose for yourself today who you will serve. And God is saying that today. Choose for yourself who you will serve. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And people are getting a choice. Are you going to stay in the old houses, in the old ways, under old coverings, in an old covenant system? Are we going to move and embrace a new covenant system, open heaven, God being over you and your covering, and releasing you to be part of people gathered together with inspirational blueprints from heaven that are going to change and transform everything? Cities of refuge are going to be established on the earth, not as places of safety and security where we go and protect ourselves and everyone, but embassies of heaven representing the kingdom of heaven on earth so that everyone's going to be drawn to it. And we're going to see it. You are authorized to issue a call for a new kingdom governmental structure patterned after heaven to go for. And I've been doing that for the last 2 years. True kingdom government of those willing to embrace their eternal destinies, who will hear the call and rise up. And this is what I like. Nameless, faceless ones. Hidden like Gideon, who will hear the voice of the angel of the Lord declaring their true identity as mighty warriors of peace. You know, Gideon was hiding in the wine press until he heard the voice of an angel call him a mighty warrior. And he thought, I'm not a mighty warrior. I'm the least of my family, and the least of this, and I'm the least of that. But what happened when he called him, he took on a position of governmental authority and brought the whole nation into freedom from bondage. God is not going to call those who are probably well known and recognized, who've got reputations to lose because they're fearful of where they are. He's going to call people like you and me who just are willing to embrace who we are as sons of God. We're not interested in earthly position. We just want to be recognized in heaven and take that position of government. God is calling forth the fathers and the mothers who will mentor the next generation. You want to be those fathers and mothers. You can be a father and mother whether you're a teenager. Because we're not talking about age. We're talking the willingness to lead a generation in. God will use teenagers and young people, if they embrace their heavenly call, to bring the whole movement of people into the kingdom. Because God is looking for those who will turn the hearts of the children to the Father for that whole generation. So I want to pray a prayer over you. I want to call you into this generation. If you want it, just let your spirit resonate with it. Allow your spirit to connect because God is calling you into this. So just close your eyes and just allow the voice of God, because God is calling out. This is God calling to you as I release this. I call your spirit to attention. Spirit, listen as true sons. I call forth your identity as the Joshua generation, the order of Melchizedek. I call forth your destiny to manifest as God's kingdom on earth as it is in heaven. I call forth your destiny to fill the earth with God's glory. I call forth your identity, destiny, authority as lords to administer God's rule on earth as it is in heaven. I call forth your identity and destiny and authority as kings to have charge over God's heavenly courts. I call forth your identity and destiny and authority as sons to stand in my presence and be displayed on the earth. I call forth your identity and destiny and authority as sons of God to answer the groan of creation, to restore it to its original position and purpose. I call forth the Joshua generation to rise up and take possession of their inheritance. Will you answer that call?
Yes.
Well, then you're going to be able to enter into the realm of heaven and enter into a whole new dimension of God's kingdom. And we're going to look to explore that in the next session then.
Amen.
All right, well, what we'll do is we'll take about an hour and 20 minutes or so for lunch. So we come back here around about 2:30. There's a bunch of restaurants up on Holcomb Bridge. If you just turn out of the street here, turn right and go up that way. When you get up to the main road up there, there's restaurants going to the right. They have more to the left, just past that. We welcome everybody to go get some stuff and come back here with this facility. It's awesome. You can sit around and talk, fellowship, connect. please do all of that. Yeah, Karen?
When we come back at 2:30, tell us also the remainder of the schedule.
Yeah, I'll look to try and do 2 sessions this afternoon.
Okay.
So we'll be looking to then go to maybe 4:30ish. And then the next in the evening, it's not until 7. So we'll give it a decent break, hopefully, at the end of the day for that period. So yeah, try and get a couple of sessions in somewhere between 4:30 to 5ish, then we get a couple of hours in the evenings.
So again, plan on bringing your food back here. We will, just so everybody knows, we will be doing everybody eat here tomorrow afternoon. We're welcoming everybody to bring, I know a lot of you from out of town, but go get some tacos or pizzas, some chicken, salad, whatever, bring it, and we'll do like a pot bless here, and we can all fellowship and break bread together. One other thing I forgot to announce, back in the back corner over there, you'll see we have communion set out. I welcome everybody to go back there and, just as the Lord leads, take communion, take the Lord's body and His blood there while we're fellowshipping together, and between sessions or even during sessions. It's fine, whenever that hits you. And again, for the offerings, or to give in to what we're doing here, make out checks to Voice of Hope. You can go on our website, which there's some cards out there on the table, which is our website, and you can hit the donate button and give that way. Unfortunately, our credit card thing isn't working. So, but what Mike's talking about with the blueprint and the sound, God gave us a blueprint, and part of our sound, you guys have answered. You being here is an answer. There you go. Yeah, an answer to us sending out our call, our sound. We sent out a call because that's part of our blueprint to do these kinds of things, to send out a sound that's going to change creation, change this area. So you guys are hearing the sound, so thank you for coming. All right, so we'll be back here about 2:30 to get started. I'm sorry.
Some soon. You say you do need some new batteries? Okay, how many? Okay. Then the problem is the battery. I did. My husband's office is right back to mine, so he's on. When we do the morning calls, he's on there, and I'm in the other room on there too. And I was doing some other stuff. I was totally guilty. Like I was like, I didn't do it. I was doing other stuff. I was listening.